Animal advocates reached out to CBS 17 concerned about the Franklin County Animal Shelter.
They say the animals there aren't being properly cared for and that more could be done to help them find homes. Our Amy Cutler getting answers from the sheriff.
This former employee and volunteer paint a concerning picture of the Franklin County Animal Shelter, and they say changes are needed. The sheriff who oversees it now responding.
They do not have enough staff.
Diane Kaler says she worked for the Franklin County Animal Shelter part-time for 2 years.
The dogs sit way too long. If there's no volunteers there, the staff does not take them out.
The amount of dogs have been put to sleep down there.
Darnell Moreski tells me she volunteered at the shelter for 2 years, but stopped last month after 4 dogs were put down that she believes could have been saved.
At the end of the day, if they still didn't have enough space, I could see it, but not at 8 o'clock that morning.
I took those concerns to Sheriff Kent Winstead. On very short notice, he agreed to talk with me and also gave us a tour of the facility.
We feed them twice a day. We clean their cages twice a day. We're inspected by the state randomly when they come down. You know, we abide by all the statutes and rules, and we go above and beyond all the time.
The sheriff says at capacity they can hold 77 dogs and 69 cats. He admits staffing is an issue. They're down 1 animal control officer. Another is on light duty. They only have 1 full-time animal care technician. 2 others are part-time.
We do not euthanize anyone before it's their time. We keep them as long as we can until we're capacity.
Moreski and Kaler say when that happens, they should be reaching out to local shelters or taking to social media.
A lot of it is how to run too. Like, you've got to be willing to put the animal first.
They need a staff that really cares. And this is not a business, it's not an office. These are living, breathing creatures that need care.
The sheriff says they plan to add 2 new positions to the shelter come January. Meantime, these animal advocates vowing to continue their fight, planning to attend the next county commissioners meeting set for Monday. In Lewisburg, Amy Cutler, CBS 17 News. You really have to feel for these students. One of them I spoke with got up, was outside his home waiting for the van at 5:30 a.m. By 6:30 a.m., still no van. That kind of situation really leaves an impression.
I was thinking that they didn't care.
Vernon Malone, 9th grader Cole Keisler, took it personally when the minivan he relies on to get to and from school didn't show up on the first day or the days after that.
I was dropped off at 8:15. I was an hour late.
Cole has autism, so consistency and routines are important.
It's been a lot of chaos, actually.
His mom, Rita, says she tried calling Wake County Schools and the vendor, Student Transportation of America, or STA, and never heard back.
We've had basically, I want to say, 3 days of consistency at this point.
Rita telling me her son started school early this year, back on August 9th. It's an issue that's impacted hundreds of families. In a statement, STA says less than a week before school started, it became evident that 125 people of the 340 people we hired and trained had no intention of working for our company. They say they've since hired and trained more than 100 new drivers. Tracy Pope is one of them.
It's been very busy. It is taking a lot of time management.
Wake County Schools says resolving this issue continues to be our top priority. They say they're now gathering real-time data, prioritizing the investigations, and starting a customer service call center. Rita's message?
We are all hopeful that you follow through with what you've put out there.
I'm still worried that one day it might change again.
And who can blame Cole? Wake County Schools tonight saying that every student at this point should have a driver. They are urging parents with any issues to give the school their child attends a call. Live in Raleigh, Amy Cutler, CBS 17 News. This is the same facility 5 inmates escaped from back in May. Just this week, an inmate started a fire at the facility. The sheriff says making these upgrades is a matter of safety for both the inmates and his officers.
This is the bar section of the jail. Good.
Sheriff Keith Stone showing us around the Nash County Detention Center, which he oversees. It houses upwards of 300 people on any given day.
You can look right here. That is where most of your fires are going to start with that.
This section of the jail was built in 1976. It's all open. There are no private cells. The ceilings are low. The hallways narrow.
They could grab us easily. They could grab my taser. That's why I try to walk away from the bars.
Stone also showed us the newer edition, built in 1984. Here, it's more like a dorm.
We don't have any lockdown facilities. It's just an open bay. Gang members that are gang members are in here. This is where they can continue the gang activity.
The sheriff says there's not enough space to separate low-level offenders from higher-level ones, all of them put together. One inmate quick to tell us he fears for his safety, that he's been jumped.
You're not looked after like you're supposed to be looked after.
If an inmate has bad behavior here, he continues doing bad behavior. I have nowhere to put him for solitary confinement.
The sheriff telling me that's usually how an inmate would be punished for bad behavior. All of it adds up to a high turnover rate among detention officers. In recent months, the county has started a committee to oversee upgrades, setting aside $550,000.
When the sheriff says upgrades need to be made now, what's the timeline for this project?
Well, that really depends on the person who's asking. I think the sheriff feels like there's a near-term need. Any building requires maintenance. Issues do come up.
Whatever you could do to make it a better place for them, good job.
Now, some of that money will go to additional surveillance cameras and reinforcing the gate from which those inmates escaped, but there are no bigger plans at this point for making any of those big upgrades that the sheriff says are so necessary. Angela, Marius?
All right.
With the lure of quick, easy money, the number of sweepstakes parlors in our area is growing. The large amounts of cash they have on hand and the late-night hours have also made them targets for violent crimes.
We went to the casino, ain't fair about them people got a robbery. Two guys came here with a mask on and was shooting. Everybody all right, y'all?
That 911 call is just one of dozens from sweepstakes parlors in Raleigh this year.
Gunshots fired.
Back in November, I introduced you to a wife and mother who'd been shot following a robbery outside one of those businesses, the Blue Room on South Saunders Street.
She was really terrified when she was being shot. There was just all sorts of things running through her mind at the time.
I reached out to the Raleigh Police Department and the state, hoping to get a specific list of sweepstakes parlors in the city. Turns out they don't have a record of them because they don't have to be licensed.
With no database, I instead requested calls for service for several known sweepstakes cafes dating back 6 months. The results from Raleigh police show dozens of calls, from break-ins to disturbances to assaults, a growing concern for the North Carolina Sheriff's Association.
For years, we've heard that the sheriffs are getting complaints from their law-abiding citizens, complaints from family members.
Chris Poole is the head of the state's ALE gambling unit. He works undercover, so he can't show his face. Under North Carolina law, games of chance are illegal. Businesses claim these are games of skill. The way Poole sees it, it's all against the law.
If you have a game of chance and then you add a component that you're saying that is skill, that does not make that game of chance legal in North Carolina.
They have to go in undercover, they have to play the machines, they have to be equipped with the necessary equipment to video what the machine is doing, because the DA needs that in order to prosecute the case.
But the investigations take time and resources. Statewide, Poole has only 4 agents.
There's no regulation done on any of the sweepstake parlors or gaming locations.
The manager of the Arcade, a sweepstakes parlor off Spring Forest Road, agreed to talk with me if we didn't show his face or give his name.
They might look at this and say, you're taking advantage of people. You know, that there's no real oversight over these places.
Would you say that could be said about a car dealership too?
CBS 17 stopped by several of these businesses. We found most have free drinks and food. They keep the windows tinted, much like a casino. Poole also points out that since they're not regulated, there's no way to ensure the owners are paying taxes on their earnings. So why isn't more being done in Wake County? I went to District Attorney Lauren Freeman looking for answers.
They are constantly working to create new games and different games, such that what we may go in and say today is illegal, they may be playing something totally different by tomorrow.
Freeman says if they have an investigation that they believe will stand up in court, they'll pursue it. In Raleigh, Amy Cutler, CBS 17 News.